I laughed. I want to say that plainly, so that no part of what follows sounds like the record has been cleaned. When the court herald read the consort decree aloud in the Hall of Concordance, when he said that the Asal Khan sovereign line would be joined to a human male, name of Darren Voss, rank of cultural liaison, 3rd grade, I covered my mouth with 2 fingers and laughed. Not loudly. Quietly, as queens are trained to do when something strikes them as absurd. But my senior advisor Tella An heard it, and her eyes crinkled. The herald colored, and the human standing at the base of the dais, this Darren Voss in his plain gray jacket with no insignia, hands folded in front of him, said nothing. He had no reaction at all. I found that strange, briefly, and then I filed it away under the heading of typical human composure, and returned to my irritation with the Concordance Bureau for arranging the match without my consultation. He was 3rd grade, a liaison, the kind of functionary dispatched to draft trade summaries and attend minor ceremonial functions in someone else's name. He was not what I had imagined a consort would be. What I had imagined was beside the point. The decree was legal under the Asal Charter's reciprocity clause, filed by both governments. He was staying. He moved into the consort's suite on the east wing. He attended the morning briefings. He asked careful, quiet questions that I initially took for politeness, the sort of thing a new functionary does to seem engaged, and when my advisors answered him, he listened with an attention that I found slightly unnerving and then forgot about. The court had its opinion of him within a week. They were not unkind to his face. They were very clear among themselves. I heard the summaries, pleasant enough, not dangerous, well-mannered, clearly out of his depth, an arrangement without consequence. I did not correct them. I did not have a strong reason to. He had been in residence for 2 months when House Vethkar petitioned for an interlineage audit. You need to understand what that meant. House Vethkar had been engineering succession pressure against the Asal Khan line for 11 years. An interlineage audit was the instrument they had been sharpening the entire time, a formal review of royal competency under the old Concordance Charter, which required a certified judicial panel composed of 3 signatory houses, and which, if filed correctly, could suspend Crown executive authority for 14 months pending review. That was enough time to collapse 2 pending treaties and fracture the trade compact that paid for half my station's maintenance. It wasn't a sword, it was a mechanism, and Vethkar had filed it correctly. My senior counsel convened for 9 hours. The legal team's assessment was that our counteroptions were limited. We could challenge the panel composition, but Vethkar had selected all 3 signatories carefully. They were technically independent, historically cautious, unlikely to be moved by anything short of demonstrated procedural error on Vethkar's part. We could delay. We could negotiate. Neither bought us the outcome, only the time. I remember sitting at the head of the briefing table at the end of that session, aware that everyone in the room was waiting for me to give direction, and having nothing useful to give. The mechanism was clean. Vethkar had been precise. Darren Voss had not spoken during the 9 hours. He sat in the observer's chair at the corner of the room, which was his correct position. Consorts attended briefings. They did not participate in council sessions. He had a small paper notebook open on his knee. He wrote in it occasionally. He did not look up. When I dismissed the council, he waited until the room was empty, then walked to the table and set the notebook down in front of me. He said, "I've been logging their filings for 7 weeks." I looked at him. "Vethkar's," he said. "Every public submission, every registered communication, every bureau application for the last 4 years. The audit petition has 2 procedural problems that they know about and have pre-mitigated, but there's a 3rd one they missed." He turned the notebook to a page near the back. "The 2nd signatory house, House Oralmav, registered a material interest in the outcome 18 months ago through a shell holding registered in the Outer Accord territories. It's buried under 3 intermediate registrations, but it's there. If that interest is surfaced at the panel review, Oralmav is disqualified as a signatory under Charter Section 41. The panel loses quorum. The audit suspends itself. I read what he had written. The chain of registrations was laid out in his small, careful hand, each one annotated with the date and filing reference number. I said, "Where did you find this?" "Bureau of Accord Registrations," he said. "The outer territory filings are public record. They're just not indexed anywhere a council legal team would think to look." He paused. I looked. I set the notebook down. I asked him why he had spent 7 weeks filing through Accord registration records. He thought about it for a moment. He said, "Because Vethkar started watching your mail routing 8 weeks ago. I noticed a lag in the diplomatic courier confirmations. They were pulling advance copies of your correspondence schedule. That meant they were timing something. I wanted to know what." I asked him why he had not reported this to my counsel when he first noticed. "I didn't have enough to bring yet," he said. "I wanted to make sure what I brought was solid. 7 weeks was what it took." 7 weeks. He had been sitting in morning briefings, carrying that notebook, asking those careful, quiet questions, and the court had decided he was pleasant and out of his depth. I had decided the same thing. I looked at him for a moment. He did not appear to be waiting for praise. He appeared to be waiting to find out if the information was useful. My senior advisor Tella on-filed the Oral Mav holding discovery the following morning through the Bureau of Accord Registrations and cited Charter Section 41. By the afternoon, Oral Mav had withdrawn from the signatory panel. By the evening, Vethkar had suspended the audit petition. By the week's end, they had withdrawn it entirely. The council asked me how we had found the Oral Mav connection. I told them it was a research action taken on my direction. I do not think this was untrue. I think I had simply been directing the wrong people. I did not tell them it was Darren Voss. Not because I intended to conceal it, because, when I turned to tell them, I found I was not sure how to begin. To explain it required explaining that I had laughed at the Herald's announcement, that I had filed him under pleasant, not dangerous, well-mannered, that I had attended 9 hours of a briefing where the answer was already written in a paper notebook in the corner of the room, held by a man I had not thought to ask. I asked him that evening. He was at the small desk in the Consort suite, reviewing something when I came in. I said, "You have been doing this work for weeks without being asked, without recognition, without any expectation that I would listen. Why?" He looked up from the desk. He said, "You're doing a difficult job in a difficult position, and someone was pulling the mechanism out from under you. I noticed. It seemed like the thing to do." I stood there for a moment. He went back to his reading. There is a quality in human men that I have come to recognize since that evening, a particular kind of composure that is not coldness and not indifference, but something closer to a settled, quiet conviction that the work is the work, and the credit is not the point. My court had read it as pleasantness, as the harmlessness of a man out of his depth. It is not that, I know that now. What it is, I am still finding words for. What I know is this. I laughed at the Herald's announcement and I was wrong, and the most consequential thing I can say about Darren Voss, my consort, third-grade cultural liaison, keeper of a paper notebook that saved my station's treaties, is that he never once mentioned that I had.